Mr. Okechukwu, there are several things that have come up here in the course of this conversation, and let's look at the area of cost of campaigning. Mr. Ashius talks about the need to look at the entire electioneering process and see if we can do something about it. He used the word, I hope I got that right, consociational elections. Yes. He will have to explain that. He's using like school terms here. But now, consociational elections, he's thinking that's what we should be looking at instead of every 4 years an election. But Mr. Daniel is looking at the cost of campaigning. He feels that not enough is being done to even expect an election that will not cost so much in 2019.
Thank you very much. Let me say that, with all honesty, that 90 years down the line, Nigerian democracy had advanced. I know the views Ashiru and others are holding, but as a lecturer, he should know that no system is perfect. No model is perfect. The model we have today, to the best of my knowledge, had advanced. I said earlier that when we went for the Anambra State gubernatorial election, a lot of people thought the APC would use our hammer to snipe the election. That did not happen. I think it's a good development. Through the court process, they said the APC will not participate because it must be distinguished Senator Ngige, the Minister of Labour that contested before that will contest again, in spite of the fact that Ngige wrote a letter over a year ago that is no more contesting. We said, okay, let the election hold. On Daniel's, Tony's, my brother Tony's, and my party member Tony's discontent, I understand where he's coming from. But please, Tony, you are not the only person who feel that we are not doing enough. Don't forget that we are in a democracy. And what President Muhammadu Buhari did to assuage some of your feelings was that he went around the whole world, came up with a bouquet of loans from China, from Europe, from Japan, from Germany, from African Development Bank, from Islamic Development Bank, from even the one called Sukuk, that gave us 100 billion naira that was devoted to highways, and it had been divided into the 6 zones, and each zone made a choice of their priority roads. He had also went in an effort to advance power. He talked of the Mambila. He borrowed about $4.8 billion for the Mambila hydroelectric power project. He's going to produce 3,000 megawatts to add to what Nigeria has already. He's also talking about the Enugu coal. So President Muhammadu Buhari is looking holistically on how to industrialize the country by putting critical infrastructure.
Mr. Okechukwu, this is not a campaign conversation, but you said something, so you agree that the present administration hasn't done enough. You agree?
No. What I'm saying is that we're in a democracy. No loan is borrowed without going to the parliament. Mr. President has been in the parliament for over 12 months. Luckily, he's exiting now that it's been endorsed. Nobody borrows you loan without asking that your parliament should endorse the loan. So that is part of the delay. The due process we'll talk about and the rule of law.
Mr. Okechukwu, you also talked about, since you're raising this, you also talked about massive loans that are being collected by this administration. Is that not putting the country more in bondage?
No.
Nigeria,
you feel glorified when you go to the United States. They are owing the Chinese over $10 trillion, and nothing happened to America. Rather, their steam is raving high. So let us not bog ourselves down. What I'm saying is that the cost of election all over the world, in all the liberal democracy I know, the only differential is that it's not what is costing democracy in America that is costing democracy in Nigeria. So, but anywhere you go, both in India, both in Indonesia, in Pakistan.
Democracy in America that's costing democracy in Nigeria, Mr. Okechukwu, but we can borrow as much as America is borrowing. That's what you say?
If I'm Mr. President, I would have been targeted of borrowing over $200 billion in order to situate our country with infrastructure.
But what's the plan? What is the plan to use those loans? Is there a plan, a concrete plan on ground to utilize those loans effectively? What's the guarantee that those loans will not be frittered away?
Those who borrowed Mr. President money, they are borrowing because they have implicit confidence in his integrity quotient. And the Channel Television, if you go back and ask yourself how much it costs you to procure diesel, by the time electricity comes, the reduction of the cost of your production will be very high. In the little Voice of Nigeria I manage, we expend over $16 million every month on diesel. So if the electricity comes, for God's sake, that would be a big relief.
Mr. Okechukwu, just clarify this. Is it Mr. President that is collecting these loans, or are the loans going to Nigeria?
Thank you.
What I'm saying, please, is that collectively, it will be very easy to be paid because the services we will generate, the rail transport we're talking about from Lagos to Kano, Mr. President is borrowing about $1.5 billion to standardize the old gauge.
The question. Is it the Mr. President that is borrowing the money, or is it Nigeria that is borrowing the money?
I don't want you to trivialize the discussion.
No, we're not trivializing. It's just you are the one that is saying Mr. President has been borrowing.
He represents the country. He represents the country.
Okay. So you're saying it's Nigeria that has been borrowing this money?
And I'm saying that it's the right borrowing.
It's the right borrowing.
It's been transparently borrowed.
Okay.
That's why it had been in the parliament for the past 12 months.
Let's come back to